Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We're continuing our look at Entente, and while many do take this as a mechanized deck, we are looking at it as general. Most of the things that we've talked about here in infantry can be applied to mech, and actually your options open up quite a bit there, so you'll have even fewer constraints. But some of the things that we'll discuss later on down the line and in today's video aren't necessarily available. So many people will say, take Entente mech. It's a good recommendation, but just for the sake of these videos, we are looking at general. So today we're taking a look at Special Forces, Padobranki 90, as well as the Lecha Pechota and the Brzydka Pez light infantry options. And these are very different, a little bit wild, and there's a lot to talk about. So Gatsu is with us. Do you want to take it away? Tell us what we need to know about these units.
Yeah, of course. In your deck, you would usually have one card placed for these type of units. Usually you would have the Záložníci, BVP, and Proletary 90. So it opens up you to having like one of these cards, and there are like three choices. It's Brdská pešádia, Lehká pěchota, or Podobranci 90. Let's start with the Brdská pešádia and compare it to Lehká pěchota.
Very well.
They are very similar in the same price cost. So the thing with Brdská pešádia is that it's 5 men stronger, so it's like 15 strength compared to 10 strength, and you have a slightly better recoilless rifle. The problem with it is that 15 is higher than 12, but it's not 16, so it's never killing 2 front transports with one shot. Lehká pěchota will do possibly the same job, but even though the Brdská pešádia is MG3, it's nowhere near as good when fighting other infantry. It's like as Lehká pěchota, which is RPK, and it's also shock.
So you're basically trading 5 points of strength for a little bit equivalent, if not slightly better, against infantry performance between these two.
Yes, definitely. Like it's just a basic comparison of regular infantry and the shock infantry. Like the shock infantry will perform usually better than regular infantry.
Gotcha.
And also the transport choices are in favor of Lehká pěchota.
So just looking at that briefly, I mean, the OAT 64C with the ATGM compared to the OAT Tab 71, it does give you a longer range punch, but then there's also the MI-17. So would you really take these on the ground or in the air?
You can choose between, like, having them in MI-17 opens up your Anton deck to be more maneuverable in sense of like the opener, as you have some sort of helo drop, which has some like good staying power. But OT64C is like still very okay. It's not great, but it's like also not terrible. Like the Maliotka can scare people away, and the KPVTs are like notorious, like not so good. They're only good with like OT tap if you have like Padobranci, and they're at like high veterancy. They can sometimes deal some damage, surprisingly.
Yeah, and I guess the main difference there is if you look at the OAT Tab 71, that's 20% base accuracy, but the OAT 64C has only 10% base accuracy, and that'll matter quite a bit for these. So that's the comparison between those two with light, but then we also do have Padobranki 90, which for 35 points are nearly double the cost just for the infantry themselves, but they are very different. So that's elite training, the Boombar, which is sort of like the Eric's for Blue 4. How do you even really compare these two units, given the price difference and the performance difference?
These units will be compared because you can only choose one of them in your deck usually if you're not hurting your deck. So the Padobranci 90 have like a different role, but it's much stronger, for example, like in the forest fighting other infantry, just because they are elite. Even though the MG is not so good, it still has a good automatic rifle. Like, is it carbine? I'm not so sure right now, but the boom, like the biggest strength of the Padobranci 90 is the boom bar with 26 AP, which is huge, as it kills most of the tanks in 2 shots, which are not super heavies, and it gives your deck such a good zoning potential. It catches so many people off guard, and the unit is almost overpowered.
Gotcha. So 26 AP at range, decent base accuracy. Does range scaling matter for things that are, heat and guided?
Oh yeah, they definitely matter.
So if this is in a town, or actually let's say this is in a forest, right? And you're peeking out the edge of the forest and your opponent has something with armor that's nearby. It is heat. So how does the range scaling work? Does it just affect the accuracy? Does it affect the AP? How does that work there if you don't quite know? for these
Well,
units?
it only matters about the accuracy. Like the heat damage is always the same, unlike the kinetic damage that you have for tanks.
Gotcha. So you're looking at that 60% accuracy going up to what, 70, 80, let's say 375-ish meter range inside of a forest.
Yeah, about that. I'm not so sure about how exactly, like from top of my head, like how the accuracy works with the scaling. But usually, like in forest ranges, you have almost guaranteed shot,
It
like
sounds pretty
almost
powerful.
guaranteed hit.
So
Yes,
let's go from the abstract now to the specific because we are building this deck, I guess, in our heads, going through these unit comparisons. You have one slot, you have these three options. General deck, what do you take?
I would definitely take the Padbrance 90. It gives you so much zoning power and so much potential to kill enemy tanks.
Fair enough. And is that 8 at veteran or 6 at elite?
I would even in like a team game deck, I would go for the 6 elite because I want them to count. I don't want them to miss. So like the elite and veteran is such a huge difference. In, for example, in terms of the biggest difference between veteran and elite is the stun duration, which is doubled for the veteran compared to elite.
Yeah, minus 60, minus 80. Yeah, fair enough. Alright, well, that is the recommendation. We have a bit of a weird sort of tab here today, but Podoblanki 90 and the Oat Tab 71, never a bad choice. Thank you guys for hanging around. I hope you found it informative. We'll have another unit comparison for you here tomorrow.